What's going on, guys? Welcome back to NFL Trading Room. Today we've got a much anticipated episode for you. We've got our receiver summer scouting rankings outside of quarterbacks and maybe edge rushers. This is maybe the most anticipated position group each summer scouting period. I watched 27 receivers so far in the summer scouting cycle, so I'm a little receivered out. But I'm going to be talking about 14 today. It's still going to be a top five. We're going to get to the top five. But there are 14 guys in this class that I really wanted to talk about, which kind of speaks to the depth of this class. A lot of people think this receiver class isn't very good. I think it is very good. I like a lot of the names in this class. Probably not going to do any film cut-ups or breakdowns in this episode just due to the length that would take since we're going over so many guys. So we're going to hit them quick. But yeah, let's get started. All right, jumping right in, we've got our wide receiver 14. It is going to be Ted Hurst out of Georgia State. Ted Hurst comes in at 6'3", 185 pounds. He was a member of Bruce Feldman's Freaks List that just recently came out. Really athletic kid, not insanely athletic, but really good athleticism for that level of competition and for that size. He's a really long strider, can decelerate in and out of breaks rather quickly, and he's really dominant at the catch point. He was 17 of 27 in contested catch situations, which is a really good percentage. Really able to win down the field and in the intermediate portion of the game. If he can continue to improve, he could be a guy that rises up this list. Now coming in as our wide receiver 13, we've got Carnell Tate out of Ohio State. This is probably going to be a bit of a shock because a lot of people have Carnell Tate definitely inside their top 10 and some inside their top 5. I wasn't necessarily as high on Tate as I thought I would be going into his tape. It's not that I don't like him. He's still got a third-round grade for me. I think he can still be a productive player at the next level. But right now, I don't really see the juice on tape. He's got some juice after the catch. But what you've come to expect out of these wide receivers from Ohio State, I just don't see that level of athletic juice from him. I'd like to see some more refinement from him as a route runner. That's something that I thought you would see out of an Ohio State receiver, something that they're pretty polished with up there. And I think his drop rate isn't bad, but he's got some drops on his tape where it's kind of inexplicable. There was a slant against Texas where he's wide open and drops a touchdown. So just got to clean those up. If he can become more explosive for that 6'3", 191 frame, he could definitely rise up my list. And again, it's not that I don't like him. I just like some other receivers in this class more. And coming in as our wide receiver 12, we've got DeAndre Moore Jr. out of Texas. With Matthew Golden off to the NFL, DeAndre Moore may be Texas's wide receiver 1. We'll see with some of the younger guys like Ryan Wingo and how they step up. But DeAndre Moore, insanely explosive. Really, the Georgia tape is the tape that really catches your eye the most, which is encouraging that he's doing against that level of competition. But really explosive athlete. Insane juice after the catch and in his routes. Really good change of direction, able to decelerate and accelerate really quickly. Really good top end speed. If he can improve the hands and improve some of the play strength, there were some times where he got knocked off his route. He could be a guy that, again, rises in this class, but a really, really good athlete. Could definitely be in that deep threat mold at the next level. I think he could play the Z or the slot as well. Next up, we've got KC Concepcion, transfer from NC State over to Texas A&M. Had an insanely impressive season as a true freshman for the Wolfpack. Kind of had a down season in his sophomore year this past year, as did a lot of the Wolfpack offense. But transferring over to the A&M should have more of those downfield looks. He was a guy that got really active in a lot of those short area situations for NC State. Really good juice after the catch. His contested catch rate wasn't out of this world, but I thought when he got some opportunities, he was able to show some physicality and be a ball winner down the field. I really like his acceleration and change of direction. He's a really good athlete. NC State didn't let him run a ton of routes, but I think he can be a guy that definitely takes a step. Some guys have him inside their top 5. I'm not quite there yet, but if he can continue to get stronger, continue to improve the drop rate, which wasn't very good last year, he could absolutely be a guy that takes a jump this next season. Reminds me a lot of Curtis Samuel. And now as we get into the top 10, we're going to talk about Eric Rivers, transferred over from Florida International over to Georgia Tech, taking the place of who we'll talk about a little bit later. But Eric Rivers, really explosive, really productive at Florida International. I mean, there are times on his tape where he is just blowing past those G5 defenses and they don't have a prayer of catching up with him. He's got 20 yards of separation. The speed is extremely evident. Got to improve the drop rate, got to improve the hands. I'd like to see some better consistency in contested catch situations. And he's a smaller receiver. He's listed at 175 pounds at 5'11", and he looks very light on tape. But a guy that's really explosive. I think he's got a good understanding of route running. Even though Florida International doesn't have this diverse route tree, I think what he did run, he ran very well. It was mostly stop routes and obviously ran a ton of goes and post routes. Didn't run a lot of stuff over the middle, so we'll see how that changes at Georgia Tech. But a guy that could definitely take a jump, really good athlete. I'm excited to see him at the Power 4 level this year. And coming in at number 9, we've got the guy that Eric Rivers is replacing, and it's going to be Eric Singleton Jr., transferred from Georgia Tech over to Auburn. Really explosive player. That's a theme in this class. He's got legitimate juice down the field. He might be the fastest player in this class. We'll see once the NFL Combine rolls around next April. But I think he's a really good route runner versus man coverage. Actually flashed some ability in contested catch situations down the field, which I was encouraged by at his size. Pretty small receiver, but I think he's going to be the perfect complement to Cam Coleman over there at Auburn. If he can continue to improve the hands, and I think he could improve his understanding of settling down in between zones, he could absolutely be a guy that hears his name called early on day 2. Now coming in as our wide receiver 8, we've got Antonio Williams out of Clemson. Another guy that's in some top 5s. He's probably around this range on most boards as of right now, but another guy that's got really great juice down the field, really explosive both before the catch and his routes and after the catch. Clemson used him a lot as a deep threat, as a guy breaking in over the middle, as a guy getting the ball in the flat in the screen game too, to let him go to work after the catch. So a really versatile player, at least on tape. I think he's got to improve the hands. The drop rate was around average. You'd like to see that higher. But he was pretty strong in contested catch situations for a shorter receiver and a guy that I don't think has the arm length that you would necessarily look for. Was pretty dominant in some contested catch situations. I think if he can continue to get stronger, to improve his hands, get a little bit more active in the run game as a run blocker, I think he could be a guy that cracks the top 5 come next April. And next up at wide receiver 7, we've got Germie Bernard out of Alabama. Germie Bernard is, I guess, my guy at this point in the process. A lot of people aren't that high on him, but I really like him. Got a 3rd round grade on him. I think he's a really good all-around receiver. I think he can do it all out of the slot. I think he's got the size to be an X. I don't think he necessarily has the vertical juice to be an X, but he's got the size for it. But I think he's the ideal Z receiver. Really tough after the catch, really strong player over the middle of the field, great hands, really consistent route runner, really good understanding of coverages. And I think he's just the perfect all-around receiver, going to be a guy that probably has a 10-year career, always producing in that 60 catch with 700 yards range almost every single season at the next level. Now as we get to number 6, we've got Chris Bell out of Louisville. Chris Bell is a pretty large receiver. He's 6'2", 220 pounds, and he looks like it on tape. He is filled out, and he might be the best accelerator in this entire class. There are plenty of examples on tape where he gets the ball on a drag route or in the flat, and he catches it. You see him turn up field, and it's insane to see him accelerate down the sideline. Not many receivers at that size can do it, which is why he's kind of in this range as my wide receiver 6. Got to continue to improve as a route runner. I think he's pretty raw in that area right now. I think the hands are pretty good, but just got to continue to understand the different ins and outs of playing the wide receiver position. But a phenomenal athlete, really good at winning downfield, And I think he's going to be a rack monster, run after catch monster at the next level. Just kind of maybe in that Debo mold. I don't think that's the best comp for him, but kind of in that same phase of getting him the ball where he can go to work after the catch down low. And now as we enter the top 5, at number 5, we've got Noah Thomas out of Georgia, maybe the biggest my guy on this list for me. I really enjoyed his tape. He transferred over from Texas A&M to Georgia this past portal cycle, so we'll see what he can do for the Bulldogs in 2025. But he's a legit 6'5", 205 pounds, really, really explosive. If you remember Jaden Higgins from last draft, he moves a lot like that, like he's on a joystick. The agility for someone at that size isn't something that you see very often. I think he's shown really good tape in contested catch situations. If you go watch the Auburn game, he's able to win down the field in a contested catch situation. I think he's got really good top end speed. I've seen some people throw out some, not as a level player, but as a Mike Evans style player. I don't think he necessarily fits that. He's kind of a hard player to find a comp for, just because he's very unique in his skill set. The comp I landed on is Christian Watson, which again I don't think is necessarily perfect, but I do think he's kind of in that same mold of really good speed, really good acceleration, really good agility, able to win down the field. And I think you're going to see a lot of his route running really improve Georgia's passing attack in 2025. And coming in at number 4, we've got Denzel Boston out of Washington. You'll see in my pro comp, I think he's a carbon copy of Michael Pittman Jr., the receiver for the Colts. I think he moves exactly like him. I don't think he's necessarily an explosive athlete, but has a really good understanding of different route concepts, able to get in and out of his breaks effectively. Really good hands, really good contested catch winner. Really good at really all 3 levels of the field. Doesn't really have the juice necessarily to be a quote-unquote deep threat, but I think he's able to stack cornerbacks well when he does go downfield. I think he's best in the intermediate portion of the field. I think he's a true X receiver, able to really run any route that an X receiver would run, and I'm really excited to see what he does in 2025. And coming in at wide receiver 3, I've got Jaden Greathouse out of Notre Dame. This is the first of 3 first-round grades that I have for this receiver class. The past 3, Chris Bell, Noah Thomas, and Denzel Boston, were all second-round grades. But I love Jaden Greathouse. I'm really betting on what he did in the last 2 games of his season, because he faced probably the 2 best secondaries in the entire country in Penn State and Ohio State during Notre Dame's playoff run. But he's a guy that's not necessarily that explosive, but I think he's really smooth, both as a route runner and just as an overall athlete. Really shifty in and out of his breaks, really good stems at the top of his routes, great hands, really low drop rate, and he was monstrous in contested catch situations, winning 11 of his 13 opportunities in that category. And even though he's not some explosive athlete, he is really, really tough after the catch. If you go watch the Ohio State tape, there's a play where he catches a pass and breaks like 3 or 4 tackles on his way to a touchdown as Notre Dame's trying to fight back in that game. He is a really strong player. Played mostly in the slot, so he's probably going to be in that big slot type of role. He is filled out at 6'1", 215. I think he could play really any position, but has exclusively played the slot at Notre Dame. But I'm really excited to see how he grows in 2025. Just a true junior, so I think the sky's the limit for him. And I'm really excited to see what this season looks like for him. And coming in at wide receiver 2, we've got Jordan Tyson out of Arizona State. He's a lot of people's wide receiver 1, and he's very close to that title for me, but just missed out on it by a couple percentage points. Just a really good all-around receiver. I think he's pretty much as close to a guaranteed Pro Bowl receiver as you're going to find. 6'2", 195, can win in any way. Really good after the catch. He's really good as a route runner, both in the short, intermediate, and deep levels of the field. Could improve the drop rate a little bit, but I thought for the most part he's a hands catcher, doesn't let the ball get into his body. So technique-wise, he's very good there. Just got to improve the drops a little bit. Very good in contested catch situations. Really strong player, competes as a run blocker. Really all that you could want in a receiver. He reminds me a lot of Chris Olave with the Saints. I think he does a lot of the same things well, and I'm really excited to see what a healthy season looks like for him in 2025. He was healthy for most of the year this past year, but dealt with an injury right before Arizona State's Big 12 championship game that held him out of the college football playoff game against Texas, which Arizona State very well may have won if Jordan Tyson had played in that game. So we'll see what him and Sam Levitt can do in 2025 over there in Tempe, Arizona. And coming in as wide receiver 1, we've got one of my favorite players in the class, Makai Lemon out of USC. Just moves like he's on an absolute joystick. He can make any cut at any angle without losing any speed. Probably the most juice you'll see from a receiver in this class. Really quick feet, really quick accelerator, great top end speed. I think his route tree is very diverse. He's able to run all effectively. He can win at any level of the field. He's tough after the catch. He only had one drop last year on, I believe it was 67 targets. Led USC in that crowded receiver room in catches and yards, and should see even more opportunity in 2025. Going to be a big player for them as they try to bounce back in the Big Ten after a couple of disappointing seasons. But I love Makai Lemon. Can't wait to see what he does in 2025. He reminds me a lot of DJ Moore with the Bears. Maybe not a perfect comp, but I think they do a lot of the same things well. But yeah, Makai Lemon, my wide receiver 1 in summer scouting. And that does it, guys, for our wide receiver summer scouting rankings for the 2026 NFL Draft. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you would please take a moment to like and subscribe down below, that would just let us know that you're enjoying the content. Really appreciate you guys checking it out. We'll have some more episodes coming soon, maybe some player breakdowns, maybe some build a prospect episodes. But we'll see you guys next time. Thanks for watching.